Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. In today's video, we're going to briefly analyze Frenkie de Jong's key role in Holland's comfortable 4-0 win over Malta in World Cup qualifying action. So when we break it all down and we do look at the board, we have Malta in a 4-4-2 and Holland in more of a hybrid 4-2-3-1 that could easily shift into a 4-3-3, and that all hinged on the positioning of their midfielders. De Jong was at the base of the midfield operating as the pivot, but it was Gravenberch who was often pushing forward into advanced positions, but also had the capability of dropping deep, aligned with De Jong in that midfield zone, whereas Reijnders was often in advanced positions in pockets of space between the lines. They enabled the fullbacks to push a bit higher up the pitch, with Van de Ven and Dumfries operating in wider positions, and that would allow Timber, Van Dijk, and De Jong to have 3v2 against that front two. Gakpo and Frimpong were often hugging the touchline to provide the width, and here De Jong played a key role in many aspects of ensuring that Holland had an easy job of bypassing that Malta front six. He had help from Timber, who was capable of driving forward and playing positive passes in between the lines and beyond the front two to get the midfielders on the ball. And Gravenberch also did a very good job of receiving the ball in deeper positions, carrying it forward to progress the play, and he also was capable of receiving the ball between the lines as well. But in a lot of what Holland did right stemmed through De Jong's positioning, and just him receiving the ball away from the front two in pockets of space and then sliding the ball out and towards the wider areas, or receiving the ball in the midfield zone, drawing pressure towards him and then helping Holland retain possession in that midfield zone. But he also did a very good job of receiving the ball in pockets of space in the inside left and inside right positions in the half space on the outside of the Malta wide players. And from there, he did a very good job of progressing the play out and towards Holland's front line to ensure that the wide players could get into 1v1s against the Malta fullbacks. There are many cases where De Jong would receive the ball in space and he'd be the outlet for Gakpo and Frimpong to receive the ball on the touchline, and all he needed was ample space to the left or the right of the Malta forwards to receive the ball, and he didn't mind dragging markers towards him and then finding Reijnders and Gravenberch sitting in space between the lines. If we look to an example, you have Timber on the ball ahead of the front two, and he drags away the wide player and a center forward towards him and focus on De Jong's movement in towards that space and behind them. From there, Timber drags two markers towards him and splits them to find De Jong between the lines, and from there De Jong does a very good job of instantly playing the ball around Gravenberch into the path of Frimpong to get him into a 1v1 with the fullback. So as you can see, there were various areas across the pitch where De Jong could receive the ball freely, and even if there was pressure applied towards him, he did a very good job of getting the ball towards his teammates or sliding it out to the wide players so they can get into advanced positions in the final third. But with Malta not applying an aggressive press, De Jong freely floated into space on the outside to the center forwards, in that midfield bank just in beyond the forwards, or shifting out into the wider areas in the half spaces or near the touchline where he could receive the ball on the outside of the wide players, and from there he did a very good job of receiving possession and then helping Holland progress their attack. The other key area that De Jong thrived in was his ability to carry the ball from deep in towards advanced positions in the final third to get Holland into attacking zones. He wasn't the only Dutch player that was capable of doing that. We witnessed Gravenberch and Timber on occasion doing a very good job of carrying the ball from deep, inviting pressure, and then ensuring that they slid the ball out into attacking players. But here De Jong did a very good job of receiving the ball ahead of the front two, and if there was no pressure applied, he would simply carry it in beyond them and then place the ball out and towards wider areas to combine with the attacking wide players and place them in positions where they could threaten. There's one example in particular where you have Timber sliding the ball across the wide player for De Jong in the right channel, and from there he slides the ball out towards Dumfries. And what De Jong does well here is that when Dumfries drags two markers towards him, he places himself in a position where he could receive the ball in space, and as he receives the ball, he identifies Frimpong making a run across the fullback and then slides the ball in towards Frimpong making a free run into right half space in the penalty area. But unfortunately for Holland, Frimpong's unable to get the ball in a position where he could create or get a shot off on goal. And if you look to another example, it's De Jong receiving the ball at the edge of his penalty area, and he's ahead of the front two who aren't applying pressure, and as he invites pressure from one of the strikers, he ends up carrying the ball in between both of them, bypasses the pressure and then slides the ball out towards Gravenberch in space between the line. This just goes to show that Holland didn't have to simply play around this Malta front six with their passing, and they can simply use their ball carrying skills to get themselves into advanced positions when the pressure wasn't applied. And along with the fact that De Jong did a very good job of breaking up play in that midfield zone when it was required, whether it be in the middle third or him simply getting higher up the pitch to win possession in Malta's third, what we witnessed from De Jong was that there were two occasions in particular where he was able to create high quality chances when there was no pressure on him from deep and he was able to pick out runners. One ends up seeing Van de Ven making a run in behind off his marker in left half space in the penalty area, and with no pressure applied, he clips the ball over the Malta backline for Van de Ven, who looks to play the ball across the box for either the striker or Gakpo to have a simple tap in. And while De Jong's delivery does get to the left back, neither Gakpo or the striker can get onto the ball that's played across the 6-yard area, and that's a wasted opportunity. And then you look to a time where it's again one of the center backs, this time Van Dijk, sliding the ball across the front two, and it's De Jong picking up the ball in right half space. No pressure is applied towards him, so he picks out the run of Weghorst, who's breaking in beyond the center backs to break free on goal, but he doesn't do a very good job with the second touch of ensuring that he guides the ball towards goal, and it allows the Malta defender to get back in position to ensure that he can't get a shot off on goal. So as you can see, De Jong's ability to receive the ball in space in the midfield zone, operate as a reliable ball carrier, and a creator from deep ensured Holland dominated central zones to make easy work of Malta to remain top of their World Cup qualifying group.